Yes, I'm ready. I don't know if these are ready. Good morning. The committee meets today to consider the nomination of Mr. Derek Chollet to be Undersecretary of Defense for Policy and Ms. Cara Abercrombie to be the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Acquisition. I would like to thank the nominees for their service to the United States and their willingness to assume these important roles. I would also like to welcome the guests and family members who are here today. Mr. Chollet, I welcome your wife, Heather, and children, Lucas and Aaron. Ms. Abercrombie, I welcome your husband, David, your mother, Michelle, and father, Scott. I also want to recognize your daughter, Audrey, who I know is very proud of her mother. The committee is grateful to your families for their continued support of your service. Mr. Chollet, you have been nominated for a critical position in the Department of Defense. The Undersecretary of Defense for Policy serves as a principal advisor to the Secretary of Defense, leading the creation and coordination of national security policy within the department. You are well qualified for this role, having served in a number of key leadership positions in the Pentagon, the State Department, and the National Security Council. I would like to know how your interagency experience, including your current role as counselor of the State Department, has prepared you for this role. If confirmed, you would lead defense policy at a consequential time. There is a common understanding that the future of our national security is tied to the success of our competition with China. This competition is occurring across every field of national power, military, economic, political, technological, and more, and across every region of the world. To maintain our edge, the Department of Defense must dedicate urgent and sustained attention to each of these efforts. In particular, U.S. defense leaders must evolve the way we compete with China. The Department of Defense has long built its competitive mindset around the idea of winning in an armed conflict and deterring China through military dominance. That may no longer be enough. The game has changed, and our capacity for outright victory through military strength should not be our only measure of success. The Defense Department needs to better understand how China is competing, develop new tools for competition, and integrate our activities with those of our allies and partners. Mr. Chollet, I would ask for your views on how the Department should pursue these efforts. We also are in the midst of the greatest test of the NATO alliance since World War II. Throughout the war in Ukraine, a formidable number of our allies have joined together to support Ukraine on the battlefield and impose cost on Russia. We are at a pivotal moment in the war, and I would like to know your views on the U.S. military posture in Europe and how the U.S. and our allies should regard the global security environment moving forward. Indeed, all of our potential adversaries, including China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, are seeking ways to win without fighting against the United States. The Department recently published its Joint Concept for Competing, which asserts that strategic competition is, I quote, an enduring condition to be managed, not a problem to be solved. I would ask for your opinion on how this should be pushed the Department to pursue every available opportunity to advance our national interest, including through smart investments in infrastructure and technology. Ms. Abercrombie, you are nominated to be the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Acquisition. If confirmed, you would serve as the principal advisor to the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, advising the Undersecretary on the Defense Acquisition System, acquisition policy, and contracting. You bring an extensive record of government service to this role, including decades of leadership experience throughout the Department of Defense. I would like to know how your background has prepared you for this position and how it would inform your approach to defense acquisition. If confirmed, one of your highest priorities must be streamlining and expediting the acquisition process. We need to field equipment to our warfighters quickly, while also ensuring acquisitions remain on budget. Although some progress has been made in recent years, the Department acquisition process still remains on the Government Accountability Office's high-risk list. I would like to know how you plan to implement acquisition policies and reforms, such as the Adaptive Acquisition Framework, to speed up the process. Finally, in order for the Department to more effectively acquire defense weapon systems, you will be responsible for improving the data available to the Department. This should include securing access to the necessary data rights or intellectual property, as well as better understanding cost, pricing, and contractual data. Ms. Abercrombie, I would like to know how you would plan to address each of these issues. Thank you again to our nominees. Let me now recognize the ranking member, Senator Wicker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.